All right. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to SM Blab, a bi-weekly Blab series where we talk about small business technology and trends from WebRTC to BYOD and every other acronym in between. I am your host, Angela Leavitt, founder of Mojo Marketing, and we have Mike.
And I am Mike Oeth, and I am CEO and co-founder of OnSIP hosted VoIP.
Yes.
And I'm
Go ahead.
Klepp, and I am founder of ESS.
Awesome.
Great. Welcome,
yes.
Dave.
Dave Klepp is our honored guest today, and we're so excited to have him joining us. So Dave, why don't we start off, tell us a little bit about your company and its history and how you got started. Just give us a little background.
Sure. So I actually come from telecom, spent, probably about 12, 13 years in selling big boxes for core network infrastructure, optical networking, digital cross connects, things like that. Then around 2003-ish, when the telecom market imploded, I ended up jumping out on my own and starting a company, kind of searching for what facets of the industry were still healthy. Came across wireless data networking, tried to make a business case in there, but once you peel back the layers of the onion, the business case falls apart, and I ventured across a segment security, basically camera security over data networks. And so just walked through open doors and took care of customers at the condo complex I lived in about 12 years ago, and the marina where my boat was, and just kind of word of mouth spread, and ended up doing more and more types of technologies, but really have been focused on camera security. So about 2 years ago, after the economy took its beatings on that company, ended up having to suspend operations, and learned a lot of good but hard lessons in the integrator space, and realized that there's got to be a better way to get effective solutions to customers. So after consulting with a couple other companies for a couple of years, I started my own consultancy to really help clients get active security solutions as opposed to passive security solutions that are traditionally deployed today. So that's kind of how I got where I am.
Okay, great. And go ahead, Mike.
People always think that it's they see a successful business or something and like, oh well, it's, you just went out and did that. And they never see all those paths that finally lead to that ultimate incarnation of the business or whatever it is. It's and that's tough for people who are trying to start businesses. They get through a couple things like, oh, this didn't work or that didn't work, and they never really get to talk to the business owners that give that story. We started over here, then we went over here a little bit, then we went over here, and now today we're here, and we're what you see today. And so that's great. That's great. Thank you.
Yeah. A lot of flat tires along the way.
Yeah.
Right. It reminds me of that. Have you seen that meme where it's like most people's idea of the path to success, and it's got just a steady growth line like this, and then they're like, here's the reality, and it's like this line that's going all over the place, and in the middle it circles and squiggles around.
That's actually exactly what I was thinking of when he was talking. That's exactly thinking of that meme. Yeah. Yeah,
it's but it's so true, and people from the outside looking in just they probably just see that steady increase without seeing all the the switchbacks in the mountains, so to speak. So
right.
So yeah, really neat. Okay, and how did you come in contact with OnSIP? How have you guys met?
So I connected with OnSIP years ago when I started that first company. Needed a phone system At the time, corporate VoIP was pretty new, and ended up getting an asterisk-based PBX, and Junction Networks provided my trunks for that PBX. And then when that PBX failed, I turned to the OnSIP, Junction Networks product to pull together the entire solution, which ended up being a lot easier to use, a lot more stable, and a lot better supported. So thanks, Mike, for what you guys have been.
That's great. That's awesome. Yeah, we still do SIP trunking today. Not as much. We'll sign up about 2 new customers a day for hosted PBX, and we'll sign up a couple a month for SIP trunking today.
Yeah, awesome. Well, Dave, I know you wanted to chat about this. Do you call it an article, a blog post that you wrote? Like switching gears a little bit and going into a little bit about what you do and the idea of like free quotes, right? Which we see everywhere. I really enjoyed this piece, but thought I'm going to paste it over here into the chat so that anyone following along can take a look at it. But yeah, tell us like what obviously some experiences caused you to like write this piece. What were those? What caused you to want to talk about this issue?
Yeah, so this is kind of the piece that I mentioned earlier. There's a lot of misinformation out there in the industry as to what the traditional systems accomplish and what they don't accomplish. And it's one of the reasons I left the integration space, is that it's difficult with the restrictions that are in that space, in that industry or segment of the industry, to get a really highly effective solution out there. So that's kind of why I threw that page up on the website. Was it's a good overview of the myths and truths about the security technology industry. Things like, if you folks are following along, the industry is built such that most people expect free quotes, because that's what most vendors in the industry have had to essentially comply with. But, as most people know, you get what you pay for, and nothing is free. So if you want a solution that's targeted, that actually accomplishes your problem, it's not going to be free. So what the industry is forced into is pumping out a bunch of quotes that are standard, plain Jane, cookie cutter, off the shelf stuff, and competing based on price. And so the customer essentially gets the short end of the stick, because they think that that's how it's supposed to work. And then the only thing they're provided with is plain Jane, simpleton solutions that don't really address their problem at the core. And so they're choosing from inferior solutions to begin with, and all those solutions have been driven to the bottom ground of what's the cheapest possible thing that I can feel that would allow them to check the box on a piece of paper. So it's kind of a disservice the way that industry segment is organized. But one of the things I realize is there are people that have significant crime issues or want to prevent significant crime issues, have assets, have a team they need to protect. And so that's essentially where I can come in and help as a consultant, make sure that they get the right solution from the integrators that are out there, and help drive the specs so that and help them select integrators, help them manage the project, help them test and manage the solution, and make sure that they get something that addresses what their problem is. Some examples of solutions that are out there today that give people a false sense of security are, for example, the alarms. A lot of folks think, well, yeah, I'll put in an alarm and that'll protect me, or my facility, my property, my assets, my team. In reality, I got into this industry back in the 70s when my dad was building alarms, engineering solutions. And to be honest, the solutions that are provided today are not much different than they were in the 70s. He was engineering solutions that were probably better than what's commonly fielded and cookie cutter a lot of the times these days. The big issue is that alarms really only detect perpetrators once they've broken into your building. Mm-hmm. And that's way too late. By that time, they're committed, they're not stopping, and they know the cops are not going to be able to get there in time to get them. They probably cut the phone lines, the cable lines, and possibly even the power, depending upon how sophisticated they are. And they're committed at that point. They're not stopping. And the worst thing is if somebody happens to be inside the building, they're at great risk, because if this is a seasoned criminal that's been to jail, they know that they can't leave any witnesses alive. So, what could have been a burglary turns into something much worse. Yeah. So, and then the other big thing is that folks said, well, let's just add cameras to the alarms, and that'll be our, that'll be the be-all, end-all solution. But what they don't realize is that cameras, first of all, the inexpensive, cheapo solutions out there don't really get very good images. But even if they do, what you typically have is pictures of somebody you don't know robbing your property. And the police don't have time, with all the property crime that's going on, to figure out who that is. So if you don't know them, you've got nothing. And if you do know them, then they probably also know you, which means that they know where your cameras are. And all they have to do is circumvent the cameras by not walking in front of them, or look the other way, or wear a hoodie, or any of the number of things that you see on all these camera views. It's very rare to get actual valuable evidence out of the traditional camera systems. And that's really because they need to be active. They need to be tied together and targeted. And so that page I mentioned goes through some other issues with known systems like access control systems. We've all seen the cars that drive through the access control gates, tailgating through, the people that follow through the door when somebody's badged in. Those systems are full of gaping holes. Remote security, the fact that somebody might be able to watch a screen that's the same 90% of the time, and then pick out the 2% of the time that there's something going on that needs human intervention. That's just not one of our capabilities as human beings, to have that type of attention span. Studies say within 12 minutes we're missing more than half of the things that we were, the person would sit there at the chair to watch the screen to detect. And within half an hour, it's under 10%. Wow. So, and unfortunately, on-site guards haven't fared a whole lot better. They are easily distracted, and it's boring. We're just not made for that kind of thing. So, technology is a great force multiplier, and its design correctly is to create a mousetrap, so to say, to detect the mode of operation or MO of a perp, and then capture a picture of them, then send it off for someone to verify in real time, and then act on in real time. So that's really the holy grail of solutions, both in the physical security space and the electronic internet security space. You can't possibly catch everything. You need to put out a donut for them to go after, and essentially catch the ones that are going after the donut. Provide the hole for them to walk into the trap, and then actively detect that, actively respond to it. And so for higher end customers, that's what I help them do, is integrate the solutions and investments they've had, preserve their existing investment to get a lot more functionality out of it. And then for simpler, lower end, smaller properties, I was challenged to put together a solution that's an entry-level solution I think I might have sent that. You know what? Maybe I didn't send that link over. I can drop that in the send a message area.
Yeah.
But it's basically, it scales that down to an individual property, individual camera. How do we detect somebody at the edge of the property and then act on that in real time? Here, I'll drop a link to that in here.
Okay. Okay. Mike, how does what you guys do at OnSIP potentially play into this, or does it?
No, as far as the security goes, no. But I liked the in the article talking about free quotes. How about you, Angela? Do you, like, if somebody comes in, there's no like cookie cutter free quote that you would offer? You'd have to consult with them and see what they're actually looking to do, and then get a quote specifically for their business, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's only a couple of things that we do that are kind of like productized, right? Where it's like, here's the program, here's everything it includes, take it or leave it. But I still have to have that conversation with them to determine if that program is the right thing for them or not.
Right.
So yeah, that's I have gotten a little bit more sensitive, though, that in my initial phone calls with people, trying to determine the tire kickers versus like people that are actually interested, because it does take a lot of time, not only from just creating what that is, but like from a thought perspective. And in a way, and probably the same with what you do, it's whenever I'm delivering a proposal, it's kind of like free consulting, right? Because I'm giving a recommendation. I've looked at their company. I've thought about what would be a good solution for them, and basically giving them an outline of what that solution is. Yeah. And knowing that they could very easily say, okay, great. Thanks for that. Thanks for the plan. And this has happened to me before. Thanks for the plan. I'm going to execute it on my own internally. Right. Which happens. And that's part of it. But I feel like I'm getting better at discerning, who those people are, and trying to weed them out. It's not a perfect process, though, for sure. Right.
So, but you've gone through the HubSpot training. David, are you familiar with HubSpot at all?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
And part of a big part of the HubSpot training is, is for you to be out there in the marketplace as a consultant and consult with your customers, and not just give them free cookie cutter quotes, and really evaluate what their needs are, get to know their company, and give them a quote that's customized. And the idea is, maybe they don't take it right away. Maybe they go and try to do something in-house, Angela, but then, no one's the marketing expert that you are, or the phone expert, or the security expert, and so eventually they'll turn around and they'll come back to you. At least that's the HubSpot, part of the HubSpot mantra. And anyway, and for me that really resonates. We've had many people. For us, our sales process, we're not on commissions, so we're trying to find the right customers, not just any customers. So when people call in, half the conversation is, okay, is this really a good fit for OnSIP? It's the same thing. It's a good couple weeks of getting them up to speed, and porting a phone number over, and getting phones up to speed, and making sure their network's going to work, and all of that. And we want to make sure that before we go and spend all that time, energy, money, that they are going to be a good fit. And David, you're right, that you can't do that with just a cookie cutter quote. And we see it all the time. Someone will send, oh, well, I got this quote because I told them I have 12 users, and so they did 12 times 25, and they gave me this quote. What can you guys do? Like, well, yeah, but you also mentioned that you wanted speakers out in the warehouse that could, are they going to charge you for those? You said that you've got 3 conference room phones. What are you going to do about that? We really listen to the customer and try to get a quote that's specific to them, and and then you run up against many of the other providers who are just going to, oh, how many users do you have? Okay, great. Here's your quote. And that's the end of it.
Yeah, it brings up a good point too. There's, how do you guys feel about responding to RFPs? Do you do it? There's some people that are very much, and I've gotten to a point where it's like, yeah, I mean, RFPs take a lot of time and a lot of work. And it seems like it's like companies that put out for that RFP they kind of have made up their minds already with who they want to go with. And they're going through this process to check off the boxes and say, well, look, we got all of these, 10 RFPs and now we're going to go with who we wanted to originally. And we just wasted everybody else's time. Exactly. But those people serve to validate like our original choice. So, I've talked to I've had opportunities to go in for some like big RFPs that would have me call in like a partner company or something like to do together. And they're like, no, we don't do RFPs. But how do you guys feel about it? Do you respond to them? Is it kind of a matter of if you have the relationship, then you might, or?
We kind of go back to fit again. So if we look at it and like, this is a pretty good fit, then we would. We do a lot of education RFPs. We do really, really well in the education vertical. We don't charge per extension. So for schools, that makes just a ton of sense. All those phones in classrooms are basically free phones with us. So in RFP where it's a good fit, then we will, but we pass on a lot of them. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
David, you run into many RFPs in the security business?
Yeah. You got to love the ones that come in last minute with absolutely no contact and no feedback. And you can tell those are, a brick wall that are just people kicking tires.
Yeah.
But there are people that are going through a good and thorough due diligence process, and those people we love to work with. Where hey, they're engaged, they're providing this structure to their purchasing process, and they've thought through their needs and their decision criteria. And so, in fact, I lead RFP processes for customers. So it can certainly be. It all depends on, like you said, the motive behind it. Those folks that think they're going to use it to get a bunch of information from the industry and then go do it themselves. It almost always comes to backfire on them because there's so much intelligence and knowledge base underneath that high level proposal that they can't implement on their own without experience and the benefit of having had the flat tires. And it's something they come to realize after the fact.
Yeah, actually, it's a really good point. One of our more successful blog posts is actually for nonprofits and how to write an RFP. And we give them a sample RFP and some questions to be sure and ask about from your VoIP provider. Now, clearly, it's our blog post, so the questions are going to lean you towards the OnSIP answer. But it for the most part, it's just a nice article for information in general for a not-for-profit on how to structure an RFP and what to think about when you're looking for a phone system. So it's that's interesting. It's one way to kind of circumvent that a little bit is like you said, to actually be the one writing some of the RFPs, but two to for us to go out and, hey, here's a sample RFP, and it actually is pretty applicable and specific to one industry, so that works really well.
Yeah, definitely. So I don't want to switch gears too much here. I'm going to need to drop in a few minutes, but okay. I know Dave, you wanted to ask some marketing questions. So maybe, I don't know if you had something particular in mind that we could discuss, and then when I jump, you guys can continue the after show, talk a little bit more through some of the other points. So that this time went really, really fast.
Yeah.
So But yeah, so I just want to open that up because Dave, that was on the agenda. So did you have anything specific?
Yeah, I mean, I just thought that, hey, since we've got you here and you deal with a lot of small businesses, what are your top 3, top 5 things that a small business needs to make sure they've got covered? What critical success factors in the digital marketing space do you think are important to make sure they've got covered well?
Yeah, it's a great question, and that's one that I get a lot. And I say first and foremost is your website. It's now become either your first impression or your second impression. So someone might if they find you online first, it's your first impression. If they meet you out somewhere, before they email you, they're going to look at your website. And stats back this up. So, just making sure that your design looks current, that your messaging is on point. That's where a lot of people miss and really think like, okay, I'm just going to like throw up my features all over you, right? And people don't buy because of features, right? They buy because they feel like, hey, this company understands me and understands my pain or my problem or my frustration, and they have the solution, right? So like kind of like digging in and figuring out like what is the right messaging for your site. And then of course, making sure it's optimized and mobile friendly and all that kind of stuff. So number one, like whenever I engage with any company, the first thing I do is go to their website and try to figure out, it's kind of like, it's the net that you're fishing with, right? And so where are the holes in the net and where can we tighten them up so that you catch more fish? So that's number one that I look at. And then
hey, Angela?
Number two, yeah.
On the website, I just wonder if there's any more recent studies on this. How long from when they've brought up your webpage and are looking at it, how long before they decide whether or not they like it and they're going to stay?
It's like it's interesting. The latest thing that I think I blogged about this. The latest research that I read is that from a visual standpoint, right. The decision is made before you're even aware of it. It's like a fraction of a second. Wow. And I mean, hey, we're judgmental people, and looks matter, right? Yeah. As much as we would like to believe that they don't, they do, and it happens. And there's all kinds of really interesting studies now where we can hook people up to electrodes and see what parts of the brain are firing, right, sure. And what's happening.
fMRI.
Totally. I'm so geeked out on that. I love that. In fact, that's what I want to go back to school and like study from a marketing perspective is all I'm fascinated. But yeah, I mean, it happens so quickly. So so that's why I said the first thing I said was design, right? Like, and just making sure that doesn't mean it has to be super fancy. It just has to be current and look nice, right? And some people's websites look like they're, their sister's college kid's best friend's cousin built the site. And in 2016, that worked 5 years ago, but in 2016, it doesn't fly. Because of apps, we've become very accustomed to very clean, simple, pretty design. There are very few ugly apps, right? And since we're moving like more app focused, we're spoiled to a point where like we don't tolerate ugly design. Right. So first and foremost is website, and then I look at like what are you doing on an ongoing basis to keep in, and for different companies, sometimes like there's a huge opportunity for upselling. And so, I look at like what are you doing to stay in front of your current customers and like remind them that you're there, right? Do you have a newsletter? Do you have some sort of like what are your touch points? That make sure that you're staying top of mind. And then I just look at if you've got a great website, if you're staying in front of your current customers, like how do we drive more traffic to that website? And there's a variety of ways of doing that, right? It could be, it could be content, social, it could be some PR, different speaking events, right? Like different things. But those are kind of the basics of what what I look at. So yeah, did I answer your question, Dave?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. All right, great.
I love the flavor of how fast people make decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah, It's on a blog post, and like after, I'll go find it and then I'll email it to you, because that, like, I saw that research come out and I was like, it's ridiculous how fast it happens. And you know, not to get like too geeky, but all this stuff like hits your brainstem first, and your brainstem is where, like, that's where fight or flight is. And so that's really where that decision is being made, and it's happening on a level of like, can I trust you, right? And if it's this weird connection where if your design is good and up to date and looks professional, I can trust you. But if you look too mom and poppy, you might be dying, right? Like, we've evolved to like stay away from things that are dying, right? Like we might catch a disease from a dead body. So if something doesn't look like it's alive and fresh and new, we're much less attracted to it. And there's all kinds of research behind it. It's totally fascinating. One of the books that talks about this a lot is called Pitch Anything, and it's really more of a sales book. Pitch Anything.
Pitch Anything.
By Oren Klaff.
Okay.
It's only like 80 pages, but it's a fascinating read on how we are hardwired to make decisions, and how we're hardwired to like how something captures our attention and how we're either attracted to it or repulsed by it. Yeah. And so this plays into sales and marketing equally. Wow. But really, really cool, fascinating stuff. Very cool. But with that, I'm going to jump, okay. But I will leave you to it. I know that there's a lot more to talk about it. And Mike, I know you like to do your after show here. So I'll jump off. You guys get to it, and we'll see you next time. Dave, it was so great to meet you. Thank you for joining. Very fascinating stuff. And yeah, we'll see you in the next SM Blab, which is on the 27th?
Just looking, the 27th. 27th.
The 27th. Same time. So we'll see you guys back here at that time.
Thanks, Angela.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks. Bye.
Okay. So we're still recording and we're still on, but without Angela, it's not nearly as much fun. But I always have some questions afterwards, and so we try to keep the official session to around 30 minutes, so people who are watching and watching it in, maybe watch the recording or whatever, they can get most of the information in 30 minutes. But I always have other things that I wanted to talk about. One of the things that you sent were some of the other applications that you as a company you use internally. What were could you go over some of those?
Yeah. So, I think it'd be terrible if we missed one of the best apps that I found recently, which was one that your tech support guys gave me while I was on a call on a different topic, which is awesome. I love your tech support folks.
Oh, they're great. Aren't they?
They are. So I give them props, and I like the fact that you take care of them and incentivize them to take care of customers, because a lot of companies lose sight of that focus. Yeah. But so they told me about InstaCall. Oh. And at first I didn't really get it, and now once I realized, hey, it's a little link that automatically brings down a connection to you, the sales organization. It's great for driving inbound traffic. For us, like I said, it's not usually as simple as here, click on this thing and buy a widget on our website. Right. So it's normally a discussion. So for us, that's what it's all about, is driving an inbound call so that we can talk to them and find out what they really do need. Right. So I love the InstaCall link, because not only do I have it on everywhere there's a number on our website, they can click on it. It automatically pulls up a video connection to us where we can talk to them live. But I also have it even on things like my email signature. My phone number is a clickable link that instantly brings up a call to me. And you talk about the instant gratification age. That's huge. So I just love the innovative stuff that y'all do, and that's just a great example.
Cool. What other, outside of OnSIP applications, what other on just online cloud-based apps do you find yourself using?
So, there's the Google Docs that everybody uses. Yep. Evernote's a big one as far as internal knowledge base.
Okay.
Join Me is a pretty popular and free desktop conferencing. Yep. TeamViewer we use a lot because it's a little more powerful for remote support capabilities.
Okay.
Let's see. Prezi, I don't know if you guys have ever come across that. No. Really unique presentation tool. Provides a kind of big picture animation and storyboarding capability that allows you to walk a client through a complex topic in pieces, and then visually zoom out of those pieces and into the next piece so that you can then kind of pull back and see the big picture that you just painted for them.
Wow.
And it's a really unique tool, prezi.com.
Cool.
Really unique tool to get across a concept and make it memorable. So yeah, I love those tools. And I'm curious, what do you guys use for support?
Zendesk.
Okay, Zendesk. Yeah, I've heard of that, and I think I've used it with you guys before. Good. So you like that tool?
We do. We started out in Salesforce, and we still use Salesforce on the sales side of the house, and that works really well. We have a nice OnSIP integration. There's the InstaPhone phone now called the OnSIP app is embedded inside the Salesforce window, so that it makes it super easy. And we were doing sales and support through Salesforce, but we wanted a little bit more email integration. And at the time, and even today, Zendesk really is an email ticketing platform. So a ticket is really just a thread of emails. So that keeps everything all in one place. But now with Zendesk, they've included a knowledge base and chat and all kinds of stuff. So they continue to build out the functionality there. And we also have a plugin for Zendesk that I love. So every time a call comes in, a Zendesk ticket is created, has the phone number in it, and at the end of the call it tells you the call duration, so we have very, very accurate call times. So that's really nice. And my the next Blab, as Angela said, is on the 27th, and it's with Amanda Moskowitz, who's the founder of StackList. So all of the apps that you just listed off, those and more are all listed on their website, StackList, which they interview small business owners. So I'll give her your information, and they do a little profile of you, and then they go through all the different apps that you use. What do you use for CRM? What do you use for billing? What do you use for in-house knowledge base, Evernote and so forth. And then they put all of that all in one place, so small business owners can then go to StackList and I've been thinking about taking my billing to the cloud. Let me see what other companies are doing for that application. So I'm excited to talk to her. That'll be fun. She's doing some interesting things there. I don't know what the revenue model is yet, so that would be my first question: is how does she make money at this? But great website, great design, and great information. So we'll see.
Awesome.
We'll see. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for coming out and coming on, and thanks for being a customer for so long. You're like customer ID 1300. So when you call support, do they not believe that that's your actual customer number?
Maybe that's why I always get a warm reception.
It could be.
They do comment on that.
Yeah.
Wow, you've been here a while.
Yeah, your customer ID is missing a couple numbers there. Yeah. Yeah, I had a customer call in customer ID like 630. I'm like, that's missing a couple numbers. So like, oh no, I've been here since 2006. Oh, okay, then that makes sense. Yeah, that's about right then.
Wow. Yeah, you guys have been great.
Oh, well, good.
Thanks.
Good. Well, thank you. Thanks for your time today, and pleasure talking to you. If there's anything I can do, feel free to reach out to me at any time. But it's a good time today. Thank you.
Take care. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye now.